Devils Thursday. This is the Woo Report, episode 104, titled Devils need coaches to teach grit. I'm your host, Sam Woo, broadcasting live on Facebook Live, Twitter Live, YouTube Live, and Twitch on the Primetime Radio Network. You can find me on Twitter at Primetime Sam Woo. You can find my blogs on hockeybuzz.com, pucksandpitchforks.com. You can find me anywhere on Facebook. So here we go again. The Devils need their coaches to teach grit. What do I mean by that? Should the Devils coaches teach them, the players, to do cheap shots? No, that's not what I'm talking about. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, you better listen in. Last season, the previous season before, with the exception of the season of Taylor Hall's MVP season, the Devils get pushed around quite a bit. They get pushed around a lot. They started the rebuild by completely tearing it down. Ray Shero comes in, brings along Tom Fitzgerald as assistant GM back in 2015, and they ripped it down. The Devils were slow. They were old, and they needed to rebuild. As painful as that sounds, because I'm a type of fan that just don't want to win at all costs at any time. You don't rebuild. But they decided to rebuild. They wanted to address the speed of the team. They were like molasses, if you remember, back in 2014. They had players like Michael Ryder. Camilleri didn't work out. Great in Montreal, but not with the Devils. So the youth movement began. You started drafting Pavel Zacha, which took some time to develop. Mikey McLeod. Nico Hischier. Ty Smith. Jack Hughes. Luke Hughes. Alexander Holtz, all young, high upside, fast, with a lot of skill, especially Hughes. Both of them. Ty Smith, tremendous amount of skill. But here lies the problem. We saw this last season. Anytime the Devils, the youth, would put up goals against the opposing team, I remember the Washington Capitals, Tom Wilson and the Washington Capitals, and Brad Marchand, Boston Bruins. Anytime the Devils had any momentum, you get one of these guys, and it was also a team effort by the opposing teams to get the Devils off their game. And where was the pushback? There was none. Now, some of you will say, well, Sam, if you push back, you're going to get a penalty. No. This is why you got to teach grit. So what Tom Fitzgerald did in this offseason, before it was a bad season on for so many reasons and on so many levels. But what Tom Fitzgerald did on paper was beef up the size. Beef. Remember we were talking about beef? Remember the no fun zone, the NFZ? The analytics people call it the high danger area. Some people, the old school people, call it the slot. I call it the no fun zone because defensively there shouldn't be any fun going on there. You got to impose your will before you impose your size. Now that the defense has size with Hamilton, Jaros, Graves, I would even say Severson and PK Subban, Siegenthaler. But if you don't have grit, how do you impose your size? How do you use it effectively? And this is what the Devils coaches need to do. Look, if you look at Lindy Ruff's playing career, Mark Recchi's playing career, even Nazardine, hey, these were gritty guys. A lot of effort, determination, ruthless. Remember that word? I'm going to be using this a lot in season 5 of the Let's Go Devils podcast. Ruthless, mean streak. Some players just have it. Some players just have it. But you can also teach that. And this is where I got this from. Once upon a time, remember back in the late 80s, the NHL was mostly North Americans. And then you had the European movement after the 1980 Olympic team, probably going to the late 80s. Communism was falling in Europe. And you had an influx of European players. Players that nobody had heard of before. Drafted in the NHL draft. Such as like Pavel Bure. Think about Vancouver Canucks, Pavel Bure. What round he was selected in. And then you had Matt Sundin, who was a high draft. I believe he was first overall. These are European players. Back then, the stigma was, hey, they're a little soft. But guess what? Once they came to North America and played the North American game, it told me, even though I was a kid back then, it told me that grit can be taught. You can't teach skill. Well, you can to an extent, but you can't teach talent. But you could definitely teach grit. And I want these coaches, I'm begging you, to teach them what made you successful when you played in the NHL. And I'm talking to you, Mr. Ruff, Mr. Recchi, Mr. Nazardine. That's how you become successful, even in the new NHL. You just got to do it a different way. But grit still, grit still applies in today's NHL. Don't let anybody fool you about that. The analytics people will say, hey, no, we got all the stats here, whatever. Look what Tom Wilson did to the New York Rangers. What one man did, one player did. Now, do I condone it? Absolutely. No, I think what he did was awful. I think it was over the line. I don't think it's good for the game as a whole. But he imposed his grit, his physical size, and the entire Rangers organization. Like, who would have ever thought? I mean, in my opinion, I thought they were, with their previous GM, Jeff Gordon, I thought they were on their way. The way that they were drafting on paper. And then they blew it all up. Chris Drury running the team. But he knows. Chris Drury knows what it takes to win. Winning Little League World Series, 2 Stanley Cups. Or was it 1 Stanley Cup? I think it was 2 with Colorado. But let me tell you, grit exponentializes your talent, size, and skill. It does. And if you played like Mark Recchi, who went 120% on every shift, and Mark Recchi, they called him the wrecking ball. He was like a bowling ball out there. He wasn't exactly the biggest guy. comparatively to his NHL counterparts. But man, did he use his grit, driving the puck to the net, winning the battles in the corners. Hey, you know what made Pavel Zacha successful last season? Remember, a lot of us, including myself, kind of wrote him off because he was too timid, too soft. But he won the battles in the corners last season. He imposed his grit. He had a gritty attitude. He did not stop. And that's how Tom Fitzgerald became a successful NHL player. If anybody remembers Tom Fitzgerald, he earned everything he got in the NHL as a player. And I hope that transfers to the young nucleus on the New Jersey Devils, because the talent is there on paper. The speed is there on paper. Now the size is there on paper. But now we got to talk about grit and get that in their heads. We can't have Jesper Bratt defending Jack Hughes on the ice. It needs to be a team effort, okay? You know, some would say, oh, well, Bastian was injured at that moment. But no. It's got to be a team effort. I don't care who it is. The team has to defend their teammate. You got to have your teammates back. That builds team chemistry. It builds trust. It builds communication. It builds a winning hockey team. And it starts with grit. You could play better defensively, the no-fun zone, the high-danger area, the slot, whatever you want to call it, the spot, that area in front of Mackenzie Blackwood, Mac Black should be protected. Jonathan Bernier should be protected. Use your size. God gave you that size. Use it. And be gritty. Remember Scott Stevens? Even Scott Niedermayer. All the talent in the world, but Scott Niedermayer would never made it in the Hall of Fame without grit. He learned under Jacques Lemaire, and you saw him progress into a Hall of Fame defenseman. Yes, he had the gift of skating effortlessly, where he was so fast but his RPMs were running low, while others had to work hard to catch up with him. But even Scott Niedermayer followed the leader in Scott Stevens and Ken Danico with that gritty, lunch pail, blue collar, work it. Work. The gas pedal should be down at all times. You don't play prevent defense and be timid when you're up 3 goals in the third period. That's where you get, especially in today's NHL, that's where you get killed and slaughtered. All right? David Decker says, Master Wu, doing your thing. Yes, I'm going to try to do this every day at noontime because people like the Wu Report. Now, I'm not saying that I'm the end-all, be-all, and I know everything. But just like you, I live, breathe, and eat Devils hockey. And why not do it during lunchtime? Have a discussion. Rich from Facebook Live, pretty much like a take no bleep attitude like Scott Stevens. Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. David Decker says, not like, love. Thank you, David Decker. Hey, if you ever want to buy a Toyota, go to David Decker, Town Toyota in Ledgewood. I'm not being endorsed by them. I'm endorsing them because David Decker is a big Devils fan. Also, I just want everybody to know that the podcast is back on the road. Arlette's 50th birthday bash, Stagehouse Tavern, Mountainside, New Jersey, Friday, September 24th, 8 p.m. to 12 a.m., midnight. Special performance by Arlette and her girl, and her band, The Girls. Also will be there, NJ Devil, the mascot, and the Woo Crew. No relations to me. I had nothing to do with that. I don't do the Devils marketing. I'm just a Devils fan just like you. Also, the dream lives on as we wait for the 10 semifinalists of the Devils PAA announcer position. Applicants are waiting like myself, submitting their demo, their resume. And every day that goes by and you hear nothing, to me it's good news. You know why? Because they're thinking hard. And please, 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 please pick me. I'm professional. Well, actually, I'm working on it. I'm creative. I got the voice, I think. Some people have told me that. And I got the enthusiasm because I hope it goes to a hardcore Devils fan. This is what it's all about. Living the dream, living and breathing and eating Devils hockey 24/7, 365. Matt Freudenberger, Sam Wu for PA announcer. Thank you very much, Matt Freudenberger. I love the Devils. I love the Devils fans. I love Arlette. The podcast will be there. Don't know what the coverage plan is, but I will be interviewing Arlette. I know Organist Pete's going to be there. The mascot, hey, it's almost going to be like preseason for the fans at Arlette's 50th birthday bash. Because it's been a while since we've all been in person together, full capacity, at the Rock Prudential Center. It's a good way to warm up. A lot of hoopla, entertainment. We got a DJ. We got a DJ over there, not DJ Shelley. It's DJ Calogero. Hopefully I didn't mutilate his name. Maybe the loud red guy, David Decker, will be there. Oh, it's going to be fun. Also, the facility, from what I've told at the Stagehouse Tavern, inside they have a state-of-the-art air filtration system, from what I heard. Let's stay safe, everybody. We need all you Devils fans to be healthy, just like the players, just like the coaches, just like the front office management. We want everybody healthy, and we want to have grit. Notice I didn't use the word gritty because we don't like that mascot. But you have to have grit, and that's going to be the theme of this season. I would love for these players to have the mindset of a young Lindy Ruff when he played, a young Mark Recchi when he played, a young Elaine Nazardine when he played, and Rolly, the goalie coach, Roland Melanson as well. Oh, yeah, we're going to be live, Brandon. Of course we're going to be live. We don't have it any other way. I'm live right now. Otherwise, how would I know that you're commenting? Right now, we got people on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Twitter Live, talking a little puck, talking a little bit about Devils players needing to have that grit. And I'll tell you what, grit, all you analytics people here, I'm going off a tangent here. All you analytics people, there should be statistics and analytics on grit. They talk about the IQ test, but there's also an EQ test. I love effort. I'm an effort type guy. It's either you do it or you don't. It's either we just sit around and just say that we have a New Jersey Devils hockey team, or we work at it and bring that grit and bring the Stanley Cup back to New Jersey. And that, my folks, is what makes a winning team a Stanley Cup winning team. We've seen it before. We've seen it 3 times. You can teach grit, but you can't teach the talent and size that the New Jersey Devils right now On paper, they have. All right, folks. Well, thank you very much. Just remember, September 24th at Stagehouse Tavern. I'll be there live with the podcast for our Let's 50th birthday bash. Also, thank you for listening in. You can find my blogs at hockeybuzz.com and pucksandpitchforks.com. Also, the podcast will be dropped in about 20 minutes on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeart app, Spotify, Amazon Music Prime, Audible, wherever you get your podcasts. Till next time, this is the Woo Report. Let's go Devils.